Veterans Day for me just means that the nation has a commitment to remember people who are in the armed forces.
It's a day for our country to take a look back and present and forward at who our veterans are, what they did, what they do, and to remember the purpose of our military and the contribution that veterans make to our country.
When I first started out on active duty, I was a M1 officer, an M1 tank officer in the armor branch, and I was stationed down at Fort Hood, Texas. And after I got out of the military the first time, I was called back up for Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and at that time I was attached to the Personnel Center, and I helped monitor other officers who were called up for the Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm. And then when I got out of active duty the second time, I then joined the reserves, where I became a company commander for a maintenance company based out of Illinois.
As an artilleryman, I worked with cannons and I worked with rockets, but most of my time in the Army was 11 years working with the German Army, because I speak German, and I was a liaison, and that was the best part of my job.
Initially, I joined the military to work in electronics, so I worked on radar systems, and for approximately about 10 years, and then the Army kind of readjusted, and so I got into working more in a combat arms side, working on Bradley fighting vehicles, but we were air defense artillery, so our job was to defend the skies using missiles and also the armored weapon system that they had, the turret.
Well, I think a lot of things that we don't see that the military does is it actually, when you look at some of the things like the fires that are going on or the hurricanes that are going on, it does a lot of humanitarian aid. It will bring in people who are doctors, who are dentists. They will bring in trucks and other vehicles for water. They move supplies. So everybody thinks about the military and going off to Afghanistan or going off to places like that, but they do a lot of things that help support just humanitarian aid that people don't think about.
Especially in Missouri, I deal a lot with the National Guard. A lot of my students join the military, and the National Guard's a popular option. A lot of disaster relief, like in Ferguson with the riots, a lot of helping the police with crowd control. It's flooding. They do a lot of cool things that people just don't realize. The National Guard, for example, I had one of my students, his unit went down to Haiti after the big earthquake several years ago and helped with stuff. People really don't realize that kind of stuff's going on. It's not all about just shooting and dying and fighting.
There are a number of things around the world, certainly, that military does. In countries where we have troops, we very often are helping them, the people of that country, build schools. We're helping them with homes and education. And we've seen military involved in Puerto Rico with a lot of rescue effort. Our National Guard across the country helps with some of those.
I would say that the stuff that you don't see out there in the open is stuff that reflects our national security. I think that a lot of the resources that we utilize for these type of operations that you don't see in a day-to-day are there really to help provide a protection, whether it's something that's directly relating to our borders here at home, or if it's something that is done overseas that is there in place to help prevent something from being transitioned over here that would threaten our national security.
Well, the efforts that, as I mentioned, that might be considered non-military, but supportive of our people, it helps the military connect with people who are not military. That in itself can help strengthen the military and provide unity amongst the people in the military when they help others. And I think it's a very important part of giving back to our people who are non-military.
Almost every officer at some time in their career has to do survivor assistance. So you're assigned to a widow to help plan and coordinate funeral, insurance, and then the actual ceremony itself. And the worst duty I've ever had is folding the American flag and handing it to the widow and giving her the speech, you know, on behalf of a grateful nation. Goes on, and not crying yourself. Having the widow cry, the little kids cry, the mom and dad cry. That was the worst duty. I mean, I've done that 3 times. And I understand Highway Patrol does notification too. There's a lot of people out there, we just don't realize that they have to do that, and that's got to be the worst duty. So, you know, I got to put a plug in. I know students, freedom of speech, you want to stand up for the national anthem of the pledge, or don't want to stand up because of freedom of speech. And I just don't get it, because I'm not thinking about what my country's done right or wrong. I'm thinking about that widow and those little kids, and that's who I stand up for.
Some of my best memories were when I was able to go to the foreign countries. I mean, going to the Netherlands and going to West Germany for about 3 months and training with other countries and their militaries, you know, gave me a really good exposure and something different that I'd never done before. And you know, just a camaraderie that you have with somebody that, even though you have totally cultural differences, but you have that uniqueness of still being in the military, was probably some of my best memories.
I'd say best memories I had was being stationed in Germany for 3 years. You know, we got to see a lot of foreign countries, a lot of their culture, so that was very interesting and rewarding. You know, and the you know, travel, a lot of traveling around. I mean, we never stayed somewhere more than 3 years, so you always got to see something new.